Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to NBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in and welcome back into the studio. First time, long time back in here since early National Signing Day, I believe. We've cracked open a live show here from the studio. So welcome in. We got a great show for you guys tonight. It was loud wrong day. Your boy was loud wrong this past weekend. We're going to talk about it. We're going to laugh about it. We're going to explain it. Okay, we're going to 100% explain it, and we're going to face the music today, as all grown men should when they have strong opinions. We're going to talk about, the review of all the college football playoff games. We're going to talk about Texas and Washington. We're going to talk about Alabama and Michigan, as you would imagine. We're going to talk about the roster updates for Georgia, okay? But it's going to be a national hour first, local hour second here tonight, following last night's college football playoff games. It is a big show for you guys, so stay here, stay tuned, hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, rate, and review, all that good stuff. We're also going to crack into a way too early natty prediction. But I wanted to start with this. First of all, we are very, very close to 20,000 subscribers. We have a chance to hit it today during tonight's launch, live stream. So if at any point you have not subscribed to this channel, please feel free to do so tonight. We are trying to hit that milestone during the live stream today, so we have a little party, like the Michigan fans did in my mentions this past weekend. Look, here's the deal. I don't think I'm a hot takey dude, okay? Like a hot take, for example, would be Michael Penix is a better prospect than Caleb Williams. I think that's a little hot takey. Now, what I am is a person who works really hard, all right? And then when I formulate an opinion, I don't waver from opinions when I give them. I feel them in my hearts of hearts, and I say them with 100% conviction. Now, what that opens you up to as a person in my scenario, if you will, or my situation, what that opens you up to is being really, really loud wrong when you are wrong. And what you also have to understand is the folks that stick around, the folks that are around all the time, they know when you're right, all right? They get it. Like when you say that Ole Miss is going to skull drag Penn State, everybody's like, oh, okay, Brooks was right, that one. But when you're wrong, holy hell, do people come after you? And that's exactly what happened today, which brings me to yesterday when Michigan made me eat a month's worth of words, okay? A month's worth of words. And I think it's been encapsulated the most. It's already done 1.1 million views on Twitter in the last 24 hours. I think who encapsulated my month-long opinion of Alabama is fixing to box the ever-loving shit out of Michigan. Okay, the company that encapsulated that takery the best was Snaps. And boy, did they make me look like a hot take artist. Play the clip for me, Jay Will. The last 4 football games, Michigan has averaged 282 yards per game. Yeah. If that were their yearly average, they would have finished 125th in total offense.
I think
they have played like shit when they have played real football teams. By the way, the only defenses in the top 40 this year, that stretch of football games: Iowa, Maryland, Ohio State, Penn State. Guess where Alabama sits? 16th. They are not a slapdick defense. They're going to box their ass. And by the way, any Michigan fan that's out here thinking that you can just bully your way to a national title, guess what? Bullies don't get bullied. Alabama is not about to get bent in for 4 quarters. Are you shitting me? All right. So there's a lot wrong there. All right. But I think the worst part about that clip to me, when I went back and listened to it today, it never even crossed my mind that I would be wrong. Never. I believed 100,000% that Alabama was about to beat the hell out of Michigan just because I saw what I saw during the Big Ten year. Okay, what I failed to give mental credit to or failed to pay attention to was the fact that Michigan kind of got to walk through their schedule offensively relatively vanilla and didn't have to do what they showed up and did in the Rose Bowl. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But, you know, also the other bad part about that clip and the fact that it went uber viral today and last night, and even when it went, you know, when they published it back in early December, I don't think I was 100% wrong there, even with the result. Even knowing the result now, the opinion there that Michigan was not going to be able to bully Alabama, okay, offensively for 4 quarters, that opinion was relatively right. In fact, I would say it was right. Apart from about 3 drives that really, really changed the football game, Michigan was relatively stagnant offensively. However, I was so wrong on the other side of the line of scrimmage, right? Michigan's interior defensive line absolutely whipped the shit out of Alabama for 4 quarters. There was no doubt about that. And guess what? I was 100% wrong there. They dominated for 4 quarters. 55, 90. They were like 6 deep, it felt like, from guard to guard in there playing on that interior defensive line. So I deserved every bit of, the folks in the mentions talking about this guy's an idiot, this dude doesn't know ball, yada, yada, yada. You have a take that's that strong and that wrong, you deserve all of the heat that you get. So, yeah, I know no one wants to hear what I'm about to say. It got a little mean. It got a little mean there on some. I'm good. I'm good with everything. But as someone who grew up a fat child, I'm gonna tell you right now, Michigan fans listening to me right now, or any opposing fan bases listening to me, this sound of my voice. If you want to get under my skin, talk about how fat I am. I promise you, it will get me. Because guess what, boys? I didn't really have a choice. As soon as I was conscious, I was chubby. Okay, so it's been a choice in my adulthood, but early on it was not. So you want to get under my skin, call me a fatty. I deserved a little bit of that one, boys, because the takes were hot. They're going to box their ass.
You just open the door for so many more insults now, because now people know what works in the trolling
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. Look, I'm working on it. You guys get the accountability text messages. We are working on it. 2024 is the year of habits. We are working on it. We've been tracking the calories. All right, we've been getting the workouts in. We are absolutely working on it. But you want to get me. You got me right there. No different than I think you really could get under Big Ten fans' skin with the SEC is the big bad bully take before last night. And now it is no longer.
No. I mean, I think Michigan in general I think Michigan surprised everybody not named Michigan fans in the sense of, like, even watching the Ohio State game, I never got the sense that Michigan's defensive line was built like that, or that they were going to be able to do that in a setting of like a college football playoff. I mean, there were times in that football game against Alabama where, I mean, they were just shoving their shit into Alabama's offensive line play after play after play.
The whole first quarter, I felt like. The whole first quarter, Alabama looked like they were catching to me on the offensive line. And that was the antithesis of what we saw in that SEC championship game. I saw an SEC championship game where Alabama's offensive line played like what we all thought they were talking about preseason, where they talked about being these big bad bullies and being 350 pounds and being God's gift to offensive line play. And then they folded. They folded in that Rose Bowl game. And I want to talk a little bit more about it. Obviously, Michigan wins at overtime 27-20. I thought Michigan came out with a tremendous game plan on both sides of the football to both attack and stress Alabama. Okay, and here's what I'm talking about. Offensively, Michigan has been known as this 12 personnel tight grouped football team that likes to run the ball down your throat, right? That's what they've been known for. That's kind of who they've molded their offense into. It's very modern and akin to what Harbaugh was doing in the Stanford years, where they were super extra offensive line heavy, super tight end heavy, super congested, right? And run based, right? That's what they looked like for most of the year. They come out in this football game to start the game. They hop in 11 personnel and they're in spread formations. So you prepare for a month for this. I'm going to play a game in a phone booth, and now all of a sudden we got to play it in a cornfield. And it just didn't feel normal. It didn't feel right for the whole first quarter. It felt like for Alabama, and you saw it in that first drive. Not only that, I was staggered to see Alabama confused by all the man beaters that they got. We knew coming into this football game that Alabama was going to play man coverage. They were going to play one high, stack the box, know that they could cover Michigan. So Michigan knew that as well, and they attacked with mesh concepts and running back leaks and things that we're going to show you on the board today. They had a game plan to both run into light boxes via 11 personnel and spread formation, something that they had not done much this year. And they also very clearly had a game plan to attack the man coverage that they knew that they were going to get in critical situations. So you have to credit Sherrone Moore, and you have to credit Jim Harbaugh, and you have to credit that Michigan offensive staff for doing exactly what I didn't necessarily think that they were going to be able to do, which is come out and be a modern offense. I knew that they were going to be this big bully offense. We talked about it in that viral clip, right? You can't bully Alabama for 4 quarters and win. And guess what? Michigan didn't. Michigan outcoached Alabama's defense for the better part of that football game. They had a plan, and they executed well on the offensive side of the football. And defensively, they did something relatively same. Where is my lav mic, boys? Because I bet we're popping like you know what right now.
No one was saying anything.
I was about to go to the board, so I need to find my lav. Y'all talk for a second.
I mean, yeah. I think the one thing that's not as accounted for in this Alabama game is the way Alabama kind of folded under pressure.
Yeah.
You had, I mean, obviously the snaps are one of the things that's going to be looked back on this game and go, wow, that's really the moment where Alabama screwed the pooch. But there's a lot of times where Alabama just couldn't respond, or they made the wrong decisions, or, again, folded under pressure. So I think that's kind of something that's getting looked over.
Yeah, and I think this game just kind of encapsulates Alabama's entire season of, like, you know, you go and play an opponent like Georgia in a must-win scenario, and they play their they look dang near perfect, like the best team in college football. That's what many assumed that they would be coming into the playoffs. And then they go up against Michigan, and they kind of reverted back to what they were earlier in the season, where they kind of just looked out of sorts a little bit. Things were not clicking like they typically were, and eventually just unspiraled in the worst times.
All right, so we were talking obviously about the defensive game plan. The defensive game plan for Michigan. We talked about the offensive game plan, you know, them coming out in mixed personnels and spread and getting back into what they actually do in the fourth quarter. Once they kind of set the tone, once they kind of got the momentum rolling, they're in that 4.5-minute drive down there in the fourth quarter. They did what Michigan did, but to start the football game in this one, they did something that I don't believe Alabama was ready for defensively. Now, offensively, for Alabama's offense, everyone during the SEC championship game, you guys were on this channel, we talked about, hey, got to contain Milroe, got to mush rush him, got to contain him. And I think a lot of people last night during the broadcast were like, damn, Michigan is blitzing the ever-loving piss out of Alabama. Is that what it felt like?
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. That's what your Twitter timeline was telling you all day as well, right?
Yeah.
All right, so tonight we're going to talk about the differences between blitzes and pressures, because I think there was a very, very large misconception in the football world watching this football game. All right, a blitz, ladies and gentlemen, a blitz is a 6-man send. Okay, we are going to send more than you have on the line of scrimmage. That is classified as a blitz. Now, a pressure, okay, I don't care if you're an even front team, odd front team, I don't care if you play amoeba defense. If you bring 6, it's a blitz. If you bring a 5-man, it's what we call a pressure. We are now hot. If they bring anybody else, we're in trouble, okay? But if they don't, we're fine, all right? We have the 5 for their 5. That is a pressure. Now, here's what Michigan was doing. Michigan would have their 5, let's call it a nose, let's call it a tackle, let's call it 2 ends, right? And then the Mike and the Willie would be in the box, right? That's what they would have in the look. All right, and every single obvious passing down, they were guaranteed to bring some type of pressure. They were going to bring 5. Now, here's where it looks kind of like a blitz. This 6th guy was responsible for the back almost every single time. So if I'm that linebacker, you played linebacker, Christian. If I'm that linebacker and the running back stays in to protect, what do?
Run through.
I add in, right? I add into the box. I'm now called a dog blitzer, right? I am a delayed second-hand blitzer into the box. They start to add in, and now it looks like they're bringing 6, but in reality, they're matching your 6. Okay, so that's what Michigan was doing the entire time in that early part of that football game. All right, and they were also, every single time Alabama was in some type of 2x2, okay, with the Y, and let's put the slot over here. Every single time they motioned to a 3x1, Michigan was adding the hat in over here, auto-adding, okay, when motion was away to me, or when motion was away from me into the short side of the field, they would add this guy in. It was sometimes the Mike, it was sometimes the Willie, it was sometimes the nickel defender, but you saw oftentimes Milroe kind of get like shocked and surprised by this additional add-on guy, and all he was a guy playing free because his running back, his responsibilities were in the protection. Okay, so we have to be very cautious when we're going out on social media talking about, ooh, they're blitzing the hell out of them. No, They had a tremendous game plan of constantly pressuring, all right, and then having that sixth guy constantly add in. Now, here is where our Georgia fans, rather, were on social media kind of perturbed, right? Why didn't we do something similar? Why didn't Georgia do something similar to Milroe in the game plan? And here's what I will tell you. Y'all remember Gary Danielson coming on the show?
Yep.
Yes.
That was kind of a big moment for the program,
Very
right?
cool.
He don't really do that a lot. Do you remember what he said about mobile quarterbacks? Sometimes you got to do what? Sometimes you just got to get after them, right? That's what he said. Sometimes with mobile quarterbacks, you can try all day to spy them, but sometimes you just end up leaving the guy 5 hours to sit back there and dissect your defense.
Yep.
Sometimes you just got to pin your damn ears back and go and trust your guys to get the damn dude on the ground. And if you don't, trust your defensive backs to keep guys in front of them. Okay, but most of the time you can't just, even if he is a quote-unquote slow processor, even if Bill O'Brien did tell him he's a running back, whatever it is, you cannot allow a guy to just sit back there and take 15 minutes to dissect your defense. Okay, so we saw Georgia do that, and we saw kind of the antithesis of that for Michigan. We talked about mush rushing Milroe during the SEC championship game pregame week, right? We talked about, hey, got to push the pocket, got to really collapse it on him. Michigan said, to hell with that. We're not mush rushing any. We're not slow playing nothing. We're going to get after this dude. We're going to push the pocket, and we're going to push it now. We're going to get upfield. We're going to do our best to maintain our lanes, and we're going to get this guy's eyes to drop immediately and focus on the rush. And that's exactly what they did in this football game, guys. I thought they had a great plan on both sides of the football, and they executed the plan.
I thought they also did something that you talked about before the SEC championship game about how Jalen Milroe's launch point was very consistent. Like, if he's going to drop back and he's going to pass the ball, I mean, it's pretty much from one spot. And I feel like Michigan did a great job of just headhunting that one spot. And they knew he was going to be there, and it seemed like he got hit in that same spot like 5-6 times throughout that football game.
I think the adverse of what Michigan did compared to Georgia was Georgia came into that game and said, we're going to force Jalen Milroe to be a pocket passer and beat us. And they conceded giving up 6, 7, 8 seconds to throw, whereas Michigan said, screw that, we're just coming after him and force him to make a quick decision, where obviously the inverse of what Michigan did was the right decision. It's similar to what Texas did, I think, in that game, which is the kind of Jalen Milroe's worst game, which is where they forced him to make so many quick decisions to where he's going to make the wrong decision eventually, to whereas if you give any high-talented athlete in the SEC 10 seconds to throw a football, they're probably going to make the right decision, especially with Alabama's receiving core.
Absolutely. I thought it was important to have that quick lesson about blitzes versus pressures. Mm-hmm. Sometimes just because free linebackers are running does not mean they weren't accounted for. Okay, I tweeted about it. I talked about it just a second ago. I was blown away by the lack of adjustments from Alabama throughout this football game. And I understand when Michigan comes out and they're doing something very unfamiliar to what you're accustomed to. But it just felt like there was never a moment in this game where Alabama was the one dictating. Felt like they were always responding to what Michigan was doing on the other side of the football. And you know what that is? That's coaching, right? That is coaching for 4 quarters from this Michigan bunch. Their game plan on both sides of the football, to me, particularly defensively, their game plan screamed, we're not afraid of you. We are not. And I'm not saying that's what the game plan felt like from Georgia, but Georgia, and I told you about this pre-show, Georgia's game plan defensively to me looked like there's no way they can go 12 plays and beat us. There's no way that they'll beat us 12 times in a row. Instead of saying, hey, we're going to attack these dudes, get their ass off the field, get the ball back to our quarterback, instead of playing it that way and living with the explosive consequences that may have come because of that, they just chose to say, you can't dink and dunk me all the way down the field. And they kind of lived to tell the tale of, they can, right, on certain possessions, particularly when they were adding in the quarterback run in that equation. Now, there was a lot of talk about the last play of the game. So I want to go back to the board, and I want to talk about this. But before we do that, here's the key stat in this football game from the defensive end from Michigan, the defensive side of the football from Michigan. 10 TFLs, 6 sacks. You're not going to win a football game having that many negatives on the offensive side of the football. I don't care how highly you rank in the explosive metrics in college football. Okay, when you have that many negative plays on top of all the penalties that they had in this football game, point blank, I don't believe Alabama deserved to win this football game, let alone go into overtime. I don't think Alabama deserved to be in overtime in this football game. Michigan handled them for the better part of this game and outcoached them for the better part of this game. And I think Alabama fans to a man would tell you that. Any more additions before we talk about this last play?
I got one question for you to kind of go in. Is this the third straight game where obviously we know what the record was, but is this the third straight game where an Alabama team for the most part got beat? Because you go back to that Auburn game, they got beat. The Georgia game could have gone. They handled the Georgia game most.
I was
about
to say, I'm not
part.
going to let you do. I think they beat Georgia.
I think they beat Georgia too,
Yeah.
but 2 out of the last 3 games, they've for the most part gotten beat. I think they were beating Auburn.
Yeah, I mean 4th and 31, hard 4th and goal from the 4th 31. Hard not to say you were in the grave in that one. All right, let's talk about this final play because there's a lot of
Naysayers.
Yeah, a lot of. Hey, let them naysayers know, dog. A lot of naysayers out here on this one. All right, I'm unmuted. All right, here we go. So here's the look at it. We got it up here on the board. Okay, now. We talk about down distance formation and personnel as our initial indicators here on the channel. That's how we diagnose what we're looking at. So everybody knows 4th and goal, right? Ball at the 3. Okay, they are in 11 personnel 3-by-1. So there's the Y, there's the slot, there's the Z, there's the X on the backside. They're going to peel or tear motion, right? The back right here. Now, based off leverage and eye contact, all right, we can kind of assume that Michigan's in cover 0, right? No safety in the middle of the field. All right, so they are in cover 0. So that is the formation, that is the personnel, that is what the defense is playing. They're a cover 0 football team. We're in 3-by-1, motioning to empty, 4-by-1. Okay, now, here's what Alabama has called. They have power pass, or no, power RPO, whatever you want to call it in the system. It's power with a tear screen, 3/2 on the bottom. So we have this screen action right here. Right? All we're trying to do is give us a numbers count. If we're over counted in the box, we have an opportunity to play 3/2 out on the edge. Now, here's what you're going to see from Michigan. As this running back tears the motion, all right, the Mike, not the Willie, all right, the Mike is going to go over the top, and he's going to do so really, really late to run with this running back. The running back's immediately going to have leverage on him as the ball is snapped. We're not going to be able to show you that, but trust, all right? Big trust right here. Now, let's talk about the actual run play of this, all right? I'm telling you that the screen was available. Low snap kind of takes all this out, but that's beside the point. All right, they have a defensive end in here. They have a nose tackle in here. They have a defensive tackle in here. They have a linebacker walk down. They're essentially in a bear front, right? They have 5 guys down here on the defensive line. So here's the combination blocks. We're going to take our left tackle and our backside tight end, and we're going to down block, okay, right here to that front side inside linebacker. We're going to do the same with our backside, our front side guard and our center. They're all working back. We're going to pull the backside guard in this power action. It almost looks like trap when you snap it, but it's not. He curves up. They leave this free defender free. He's going to come off the edge. He is the read key. All right, he's one of the read keys. They're going to leave him as a free defender. Now, when the ball is snapped poorly, all right, it F's everything up. The whole timing's messed up. Personally, when I watched it last night, I thought the motion was mistimed. I thought a lot of this was just wetting down your leg in a big-time situation. I do not hate the call. Okay, I felt like, honestly, power is a delicious look against this front. All right, the down blocks are there made available for you, right? You got an angle on both of these guys, all 3 of these guys that you've really had a tough time blocking. We already have a natural void out here in what will ultimately be C-gap. Okay, so I don't hate the call at all. I hate the execution, and sometimes that's what we get into. We get into the debate of, is because the execution was poor, was the play call poor? I don't know. I also don't love the idea that we had 3 plays called. We go out there, Michigan doesn't like the look, they blow a tee. We go back out there, we don't like the look, we blow a tee. All right, and then we go out there a third time and we run basically an option play where we have the 3/2. Here's the deal. If I'm this football player, guys, and I've been playing superhero ball all night. I got 21 touches. My other 2 running backs didn't combine for, I think they combined for 20 touches. I think McClellan had 14. I think Justice Haynes had 6. Okay, so this dude was playing hero ball all night. But guess what? He'd been playing hero ball from a running game perspective for the last 3 weeks. So I have a hard time sitting here criticizing the guy who got a low snap, all right, for not reading this properly, because I'm telling you right now, 25 doesn't get over the top, but that's also assuming these two guys make their blocks. All right, but I'm going to trust my guys. That's the whole idea of playing quarterback. So I don't necessarily hate the play call. Definitely don't love the execution of the play.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those situations where it's a dog shit call just because of the way it ended up. I mean, no one criticizes Pete Carroll for throwing the ball on the goal line if they score a touchdown there. It's one of those things where bad snaps, unfortunate. The play didn't work out, so now Amarius is going to get thrown to the fire. But it's not a terrible call. I don't know if I would have made it in that situation. I think that you had trouble pushing the ball up the middle in that situation towards the end of the fourth quarter. But I don't hate it.
All right, so the other thing on the other side of the football that killed Alabama was mesh traffic. Okay, all these running backs leaking, not all of them. Blake Corum had 2 huge plays, a 4th and 2 and a touchdown. Or it wasn't him, it was Marco Wilson or Damon the Wilson?
I think
Raymond
Corum had the touchdown.
Was it Raymond Wilson? Raymond Wilson. Well, number one slipped and got into the open as well via mesh traffic. So we've told you all week they're a man football team, right? Is Alabama. So here's what Michigan wanted to do to attack that man coverage. We told you they were scattering, they were mixing motion, they were doing all kinds of different things to confuse the look. So on most of these mesh options, right, they would leave the X on the backside. They would open with a tight end, right, maybe even a big H right here, and then the Z over here. They would look like they were in spread 3-by-1. All right, and then McCarthy would give a little hard count, and then they'd scatter. And what they would scatter to, the back was over here on the left, Back starts out over here on the left. Now, they scatter into a trips bunch. So the tight end comes to the point right here, the H comes behind him, and the Z comes back. All right, so these are no longer here. Now, what they also did at the very end of the snap was they flipped the running back over here. Now, at the snap, this Willie, right, who is Jihad Campbell, the young linebacker that we love, right, but he's a young backer. The young backer is sitting there on the front side of this formation, and he's going to now have to fight through all of this mesh traffic, right, all of this junk, and pick up the back out of the flat. And ultimately, he was not able to. Multiple times. You can see him pointing. And with the particular bracket coverage that Alabama runs, the particular man coverage that they run, the only answer is to, in the middle of the game, say, hey, the next time we see bunch, the corner's going to stay true. And he's just going to hold here, right? And whoever gets picked in the wash is going to go with the trash. Does that make sense? That's the only real adjustment that you can have. Travis Hunter did this really well on the goal line against TCU, this type of bracket coverage where we let the inward breaking route go in because we know something's coming out. This is basically what would have had to have happened for Alabama to ultimately kind of defeat this. Otherwise, Jihad Campbell's got to fight through all that garbage, and he's never going to. So I thought it was a really good play call, play design. I thought it was a failure to adjust multiple times by Alabama. They kept getting picked on with that type of kind of mesh with the traffic leak, okay, out of the backfield, and just out of just arrows, just motioning the guy in and just slipping him out throughout the trash and getting him clear into the open space. So, yeah, I thought it was very clear and obvious to me. Dude got out-coached for the first time in my career. First time in my career watching Alabama football, I felt like the other dude on the sideline of Nick Saban did a better job than he did. I thought when Georgia beat him in the national championship game, I thought you had better football players for 4 quarters. I didn't necessarily think there was any critical, coaching lack of adjustments or anything like that in that football game. I thought he just got beat. Mm-hmm. This was rare. This was rare where I look up and I watch the football game and everybody watches the same game and says, damn, Jim Harbaugh got him. Jim Harbaugh got him.
I think it's something that you've kind of seen with Alabama this year is like, when I think about games where the game was close for Alabama, they had to pull one out or they get lost to Texas or whatnot. It really never felt like they were making adjustments throughout the game. It really just felt like Jalen Milroe ended up being the better athlete on the field on offense, and he was able to do enough for the offense to produce enough points to get him out of a mess. Or in the case of Texas and Michigan, in this instance, it was just you never made any adjustments and you got out coached, and they continued to be better than you for 4 quarters.
It was very interesting to watch, just this season in general, because there were moments where it's like, oh my God, how is Nick Saban doing this with this roster? How are they national championship contenders, playoff team? And other times it's like, how are you losing right now? Yeah. Like the Texas game was mind-blowing to everyone. The USF game, I mean, yeah, you were handicapped because you benched Jalen Milroe, but still, that roster should go in and smoke USF. I mean, just certain points of the season where it's kind of like, kind of head scratching. You don't see that a lot from Nick Saban.
No, and again, everybody's looking for areas of criticism or things to point to, and everybody immediately runs to the last play of the game, and that's fine. I get it. If it were me, if I were an Alabama fan, the one area of criticism that I have for this offense and the way that they went about calling a game last night was they destroyed Georgia with delayed drags, different things in that intermediate. Like when we're talking about mush rushing, when we're talking about dog blitzing, when we're talking about sending pressures constantly and adding an additional, all those bodies are now sucking up towards the line of scrimmage. They're moving behind the line of scrimmage. They're really pressuring you. Well, all those bodies starting to move, and they did nothing hardly at all in this football game to leak Isaiah Bond in behind that. I mean, how many times on third and mediums, third and longs, third obvious passing downs in the SEC championship game did we see Isaiah Bond run a drag for 17 yards? Because everybody is just bailing, and then everybody else is just absolutely with their eyes on Jalen, like really trying to push the pocket and get upfield. I didn't think Tommy Rees did a good enough job of helping his quarterback out like he did in the SEC championship game, where he's immediately putting stuff in his face.
It felt to me, and I don't know if this is a Nick Saban thing or a Tommy Rees thing, it felt to me like they got shell-shocked after that first half and took 5 sacks and was like, oh, my God, we can't throw the ball. And from then on out, for the most of the third quarter, it was we're going to run triple arrow, we're going to pound the ball up the middle, we're going to run inside zone, things such as that. And they kind of were – it was working for a while, and then you have 2 bad snaps, kills a drive, and it kind of sucked all the air out of Alabama. And after that, it was really a crapshoot. So, I mean – It is interesting to see because I think the bad snaps played much more of a factor into this game, obviously on the last play, but just in general than anyone gives it credit for.
Can I say something? For the life of me, I can't figure that out. I cannot figure out how Power 5 offensive linemen can't figure out how to snap the damn ball. For some reason, it must be my face, it must be the glasses. For some reason, when people find us, they're like, oh, there's no way this guy played ball. Mm-hmm. I did for a long time. And the position that I played was center. And, I mean, I ran air raid offenses where we need the ball out of the shotgun and took 85 snaps a game and never once had a bad snap. For the life of me, I just can't figure it out. It's the easiest thing to do. Mm-hmm. It's the easiest thing to, in my opinion, like I run into some coaches who act like they can't coach it. It's a very coachable thing, in my opinion. You hit your leg at the same spot with the same pace and the same rotation every single time. Every single time. And for the fact that they're 15, 16 games in with this and they were constantly putting the ball on the turf, it's not great, Bob. It's not a good look for a really, really good program. And it cost them games this year.
This wasn't a one-off thing either. This was happening the entire Texas game.
Happening against Texas,
like
Georgia.
Jalen Merrill was getting hit in the chest with a ball while he was making calls because the snap wasn't on time. It's very interesting to watch. And it's like I said, it's uncharacteristic things from Alabama that you don't see and you haven't seen Nick Saban regimes of past or Nick Saban seasons of past.
I think we've definitely just learned that Nick Saban made some type of deal in Atlanta, bought stock in Mercedes-Benz or something because, I mean, it is. I mean, there's something about when they get to Atlanta, they turn into a completely different team.
They were a
completely different team. And then you go out to Pasadena, and it's like, whoa, well, there's Alabama that played Texas in week 3 or whatnot. It's just very uncharacteristic is a great word for it, but just very unusual.
I also want to give Michigan some credit because I felt like they looked shell-shocked for like 5 minutes, and then it was over with.
Yeah.
And it was over with, and they settled, and they just handled the rest of their business the rest of the football game. But to start that ball game, they looked a little unsettled.
Yeah, I mean, that first touchdown was like, oh, Michigan's in peak playoff form here. And then they just settled in, drove down the field 75 yards on that touchdown to, I don't remember the running back, but off that motion that you said.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was, for the most part, smooth sailing. The muff punt at the end was the one other thing where it was kind of like, oh, my God. But
there were some key special teams moments in this game. And I know that this has kind of been a thing, but I know that Michigan was the one that had the woes on special teams. You know, you missed the PAT, you looked like that maybe it was going to bite you in the bud. You muffed the punt.
Almost 2 punts.
Almost 2 punts. Like, do we think that they mattered? Do we think that they mattered in that game? I mean, even in the Washington-Texas game, there were some moments where special teams felt like, whoa, that matters right there.
So you would say there's three phases of a football game, right?
Yeah.
Would you say that Michigan won the special teams phase, or lost the special teams phase by a larger margin than they won the other two phases. Like, they were significantly worse on special teams than Alabama was. Alabama was really good on special teams. Michigan was absolutely abhorrent on special teams.
Yes.
But they slightly edged out Alabama both offensively and defensively.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're telling me is they barely beat Alabama in two of the more important phases and absolutely played like shit in the third phase, but they won the game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're trying to tell me special teams matter?
Well, I threw up the question.
Okay.
They do.
I'm just saying, as long as you win on offense and defense, you can pretty much do whatever the hell you want special teams wise. I think that kind of proved out on Saturday. You can play absolutely terrible on special teams and still have a chance to win a football game as long as you're really, really good offensively and defensively.
I think you have to win 2 of the 3 phases of a football game.
Yeah.
And it count. And so I mean, you're not going to win a lot of football games if you play bad on offense, bad on defense, good on special teams. I mean, it's 2 of the 3. You have to have 2 of the 3. To say it doesn't matter, you can't say, oh, we played good on offense, didn't play great on defense, and we had a horrible special teams. You're not going to win that game.
You look like you're about to walk me into something.
No. I was about what I'm about to say is I think that you have to win 2 out of 3 is important because Iowa lost every freaking game offensively, but damn did they win every game on special teams and defense.
Yeah.
And they won
That's
10
fair.
games, 9 games.
All right, so consistently win 2 out of the 3 phases.
Yeah.
There we go.
You're more consistently a good team if you win the offense and defensive phases every single week.
I would argue this. I would argue football is
Fun, sir.
yes.
Football is fun.
Football is 35% offense, 35% defense, 30% special teams.
I go 40-40-20.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
40-40-20. I like it.
But 20% matters a whole lot.
Okay.
Not as much as the other 2.
Okay, I want to talk about one more thing before we move on from Loud Wrong Day. Brooks sucks at opinions. Because we've already given it 40 minutes. I think I know what happened. To me, with my opinion here. It was 20. My final prediction was 27-10. Over and over again, I kept telling you, like, you don't bully SEC champions. It's just not what you do. I vividly remember coming on this show in like September, maybe early October, and saying, damn, Michigan's defensive front, man, they strike and shed blocks like nobody's business. Like, they are physical, they are big, they are mean. Like, they play the run game like an NFL unit. I distinctly remember coming on here and saying that. And then about a week later, we found out they were cheating. And I had so much disdain for not only the idea that they went through the links that they did for cheating and all, and the sign stealing and all that stuff. And you can do all the stuff about it didn't matter now, and you can do the hindsight stuff. But I was so frustrated about not only that they would do that, but was also frustrated about the opinions that I saw like attached to that story about how it didn't matter and about how, the stealing signs, you can know the play, but you still got to line up and execute, and all the bullshit that we heard over and over again about the story. I had disdain. I'm going to be honest with you. I had disdain for Michigan, and I know that clouded my judgment with regards to this one, because what I didn't want to happen is what I'm seeing now. That the sign stealing stuff didn't matter, that it didn't impact the games, that, they won it on the field anyways. Can the two not be one and the same? Can Michigan not have won it on the field and this version of their football team be really, really great, while also saying that sending a guy to 47 different football games and stealing signs and advanced scouting is a little bit wrong and might have played a role in some of that 2.5 years worth of success? I think we can do both of those things. But I also think that as someone who shouldn't have done this, I think I just wanted them to lose. I think I did. I think I wanted them to lose, and I allowed that to miscloud my opinion on this one, and I thought that I should be honest with you guys on that one.
Did you see what Harbaugh said in the post-game presser? I don't know if it was...
No, I was too busy just absolutely weeping in my mentions. No, I'm just kidding.
No, so you didn't hear what he said?
No.
So he goes, and I don't know how exactly he worded it, but he goes, I feel like our team had an unfair advantage because of how much adversity they had to go through this season. They were so well connected. He specifically used unfair advantage.
I love it.
Just an ultimate troll job.
Did you see the interview with his dad and his mom?
I saw the clip of it. I didn't
Oh my
listen to the
God!
audio.
If Jim Harbaugh and his daddy aren't like,
So a bunch of people were saying like, I
Spitting
thought that
images,
was
dude.
Jim Harbaugh.
I thought it was Jim Harbaugh in like an aged man face. Like I thought he did old
Filter.
grandpa, like bad grandpa type shit, and just put some makeup on. But yeah, I definitely thought that was Jim Harbaugh, but it was
me
not.
too.
It was Jack Harbaugh.
I think that's his name. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
How about that? Recall on this brain over here. Not bad. Should we talk about the Sugar Bowl? I think we've
I'd love to.
overanalyzed
Need
that
to,
one just
yeah.
a little bit. Sorry about that one. We spent 40 minutes on how I was wrong, and that's okay. I posted a video earlier in the year about this Washington offense, okay? I said that they were unstoppable. I said that this passing attack was unlike anything that I had seen. I even compared Michael Penix to Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if y'all remember that, but I said he's very Aaron Rodgers-esque. Only for them to put up 21 points, I think, the next week against Arizona and then lay another dud the next week against Arizona State. So we got some real juju going my way when it comes to me complimenting or just shitting on an opponent. They normally do the opposite, okay? So, but eventually it bores out like it did with this Washington take. The fact that this is one of the best offensive passing attacks we've ever seen in college football from a schematic standpoint, but it really boils down to the fact that they have a facilitator at the position that I still to this day, even after watching last night's football game, I don't think this guy gets enough credit. For me, I got absolutely just woo. I probably shouldn't talk about this after I went viral last night for the way that I was, maybe misusing some words on social media, some phrasing issues going on. But, dude, I got so excited about the prospect that this kid is, or this man is, from a quarterback position standpoint, watching him against Oregon, and I would see him with selective throwaways. What does that mean? I watched him have a deep crosser that was running into the face of a safety. So if he had a linebacker on his back, but the crosser's working into the face of a safety. So the only way to really, and he's inside the pocket, so he can't throw the ball out of bounds. The only way to really avoid a sack and get rid of the football is to throw the ball somewhere where we're not going to get grounding, but we know is a safe incompletion. And in the instant, he threw the ball at the heels of the defender in chase technique on the tight end. And I'm sitting there watching this shit, and it's like 2nd and 8, and they end up picking up the 3rd and 8 on 3rd down, but only because they were in a 3rd and 8, and they had an opportunity to run a little hitch and not have to drive the ball down the field because he got sacked on 3rd and 15. And these types of constant, like, I'm on top of my shit decisions is what we saw for 4 quarters last night in that football game. The dude is constantly on time. The guy is always in control of what is happening in front of him, and he just doesn't make bad mistakes. Look up his interceptions this year. I bet it's under 7. I bet it's under 8. This guy just does not put the ball at risk. Accurate's not even the right word. Ball placement isn't even quite the right word. He communicates with the football better than anybody I've watched. Like, his ability to constantly tell guys where defenders are, tell guys where defenders aren't, stop them, start them, run them, keep them low, keep them high, whatever it is, the dude puts the ball in the exact spot it needs to be every single time. And I've just been impressed, man. It's been like this all year. He makes big boy throws over and over and over and over again. Guys, several balls he threw last night, I was like, you're the only guy in college football that tries to make that throw. Mm-hmm. The tight end out and up that he threw to number 37 or whoever it is probably not going to play NFL football at the tight end spot. Like, the ball was in between 3 defenders and was the only spot, and he had like 12 of those last night. And he's had like 12 of those in every single football game this year.
Mm-hmm. He has 9 interceptions on the season.
Yeah.
So
and has chunked it, 38 times a game?
Something like that.
Yeah, I've got at least.
I think it is interesting to look at the 3 best quarterbacks in college football this season: Michael Penix, Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels. I think that's a fair thing to say.
Yeah, I'd go with you.
Yep.
And look at, they've all transferred. They all had to transfer, and they're all on their 5th or 6th season. Like, the maturity and the experience that they've had, I think, is really starting to show, and it starts to show more and more if you have these quarterbacks that stay around, because they're not getting thrown into the fire as rookie seasons, and they get to have that kind of second senior year where you really get a full year of it all clicking together.
Have you seen a throwing motion like this?
It's very weird. He's lefty, isn't he?
Yeah, he's lefty, and he's like underneath it the whole time. Like his hands like cupped, and just his fingertips are on the edge of the football. and he almost just like cuts it like this the whole time. It's nuts.
Very interesting.
Very, very, very intriguing stroke on Michael Penix.
Does he have the greatest glow up in college football history?
No, Baker Mayfield does.
Okay, that's fair.
Baker Mayfield does, or Stetson
Bennett, I think, does.
or Stetson Bennett.
I think Stetson Bennett still
Baker or Stetson.
Okay, I mean,
he had a great goal up though, because I remember
Yeah,
thinking
no, he did.
Indiana like, he's kind of.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about. Is watching him in his Indiana days. I mean, it's night and day difference. And just also thinking about the fact of you went from Indiana and now Washington, and you very well could play yourself, depending on how you play in the national championship, you could play yourself into a top 5 pick now. I mean, I think he could easily be put into discussion of that's QB2 now.
I think the height limitations, because I think he's only about 6'1.5". The lefty quarterback does get a stigma. I don't know if I don't know. I know why. It's because we have to flip our entire offense. Like everything changes. Launch points change. Mesh points change. Timing of the offense changes. Who our best tackle is changes. Where our predominant running game goes. Like that all changes. Everything flips on its axis when you have a left-handed quarterback. It's why I think sometimes you see I guarantee you at some point if Tua still like sticks out, I guarantee you they try to find a really, really talented and serviceable lefty backup so they don't have to flip everything if the kid ever goes down. So it is a matter of inconsistency when you have one guy that looks like that and one guy that looks like the opposite on the other side. But I'm with you from an NFL draft perspective. I don't know how it's going to be Caleb Williams, Drake May, and then you have to make a decision on Jaden Daniels and Michael Penix.
And Bo Nix, really. I mean, the season Bo Nix had was incredible, and there's going to be teams out there like, hey, 77% completion percentage, only 3 interceptions? There's going to be a team that suckers for that.
How much controlling and dictating of the football game has Bo Nix done from the pocket over his career? Because what I watched this year from Michael Penix, his ability to operate in and out of the pocket, particularly in the pocket, throw on time, throw with anticipation, those are the things that survive on Sundays. Not razzle dazzle, he escaped and ran flat down the line of scrimmage and threw 145 yards. Like that stuff.
But is that not
erraticism to me in Bo Nix's game would terrify me from an NFL draft perspective.
But is the razzle dazzle and escaping? Oh my God, how do you make that throw? Not what has made Caleb Williams the number 1 pick.
No, the arm talent has made Caleb Williams the number 1 pick, and he can do it from within the pocket, and he can layer the football.
Okay.
And I think we're getting into a point now where I don't even know if they're going to 100% make him the first overall pick.
I mean, if Chicago's got the pick, I don't know if they're going to do that.
I don't know.
That's a whole different scenario.
That's a whole nother show.
Whole other sport.
Yeah, it's a whole other sport when it comes to the NFL. But yeah, let's talk about the Sugar Bowl.
I want to talk about the last 4 plays of the football game because Texas ends up having a chance to go on and win this football game. And to me, a little bit, I am not a huge fan. Now, like if you want to do it on 1st and goal or whatever, like I am not a huge fan of the chuck it up to your best receiver on the goal. I do not. I despise that play. I feel to me most of the time it just feels like a wasted play in my opinion.
You hate the goal line fade.
I'm not a huge fan of the goal line fade. Like now, don't get me wrong. Certain situations like you're running hot 1st and goal, you want to get to the line quick, just chuck it up to your best wide receiver. Like I'm fine with that. But like I felt like that's just kind of what their MO was. They're late in the game. Like let's try and get AD Mitchell that big catch in the college football playoff game like he typically does, and then also like the swing screen out to the right side. Just I don't know, it just kind of felt out of sort for Sark in my opinion.
I felt like the entire game, and this is what Washington does to you, I felt like the entire game, when you play Michigan, you feel like you have to score every possession because you're not going to have a bunch of possessions, right? They're going to squat on it. They're going to take a while. When you play against Washington, you almost feel like you have to score every play. That they're going to score 40. Like that offense is going to operate at a high rate. Like you're not going to be able to keep them in front of you. Particularly Texas. Texas knew that for a fact. Especially once Devondre Sweat started to struggle and started to go out with some injuries or conditioning or whatever that was. Yeah. Whatever caused 93 to go off the field immediately started to impact that football game. They started having more time to throw the ball. So your clock when you play Washington, your urgency automatically goes through the roof because you feel like you got to score every single time. And I think you saw this from Texas in their complete avoidance of the run game. And it was weird, man, when you look at the box score and when you watch that football game, it felt like every time they handed the rock off, they were ripping for like 7 yards a carry, 8 yards a carry, 28 totes, 6.5 yards a carry for over $180. They just didn't go back to it enough. Like even Washington continued to take their medicine. Washington ran the ball 38 times for $103. It was not good. Like they did not successfully run the ball. But what they did was keep Texas honest on the defensive side of the football and not allow them to just sit back and keep everything in front of them, which is exactly what Washington got the chance to do on the defensive side of the football. How many times did we see Washington corners just absolutely stacked on top of Texas receivers? Even guys like Xavier Worthy. Xavier Worthy is one of the fastest wide receivers in the sport, and we got Washington corners standing on top of him, running sideline down the sideline in phase in front of him because he had 12 yards of cushion, and they're trying to run a double move, and it's 1st and 10, and y'all have taken 12 shots already in the first half because you feel like you've got to score. That is what Washington did to Texas the entire football game, and I felt like Sark got out of his rhythm and got away from what made this Texas team like really, really good. What made Texas great this year was the fact that they were an extremely balanced football team. And look, this is really, really easy to say when you're not the one on the headset. And by the way, their two young running backs put the ball on the turf twice. It's so hard for me to be like, yeah, let's just run it down their throat when we're not, 100% sure we're going to hold on to the rock.
I think the two fumbles scared Sark into saying, okay, we're just going to put the ball in Quinn Ewers' hands and let him make decisions. Let him make plays. Let him throw it up to A.D. Mitchell and see if that happens. And it worked out well one play. I mean, that catch was incredible. And this A.D. Mitchell is, might be the most clutch playoff player ever at this point in college football. He's got 5 touchdowns in 5 appearances. So, but yeah, I think Texas got scared and went away from what was working in the run game because 2 fumbles, 2 turnovers. I mean, they were costly turnovers too.
I also felt like this wasn't a 7-point football game. It ended up that. I didn't feel that way. No. I felt like Washington controlled this football game. 6-point football game, excuse me. I felt like Washington controlled this football game for the most part. The primary reason for that being, I felt like one quarterback on one side of the football in Penix was just, BDE, man. He was ripping the ball. Like he was not, second-guessing any decision. He was not, throwing with a little bit of lollipopness, if you will. He was not second-guessing anything. Every ball was ripped with confidence and pace and accuracy. And then on the other side of the football, and I know it's a little bit of his game. I know it's kind of how he goes about playing the quarterback position. I felt like Quinn Ewers was placing the football all night. I did not feel like he was ripping it. I felt like it was like, that's where I'm supposed to go with the football. Ooh, I hope I don't miss him. Right? And there are 2 different thought processes there and 2 different levels of execution with regards to how you're throwing the football if you're not throwing it with confidence. I'm not saying he was scared. I'm not saying he was nervous. I'm just saying I didn't feel like he was throwing the ball with 100% confidence.
No, it felt like the entire game, whether it be the way he threw it or the area in which it was thrown, it felt like he wasn't necessarily 100% on the same page as receivers. There was a lot of passes where it was like, well, that was a miscommunication because the ball was 5 yards behind the receiver, like just egregiously inaccurate. So Quinn Ewers definitely looked, I don't want to say scared because he played well, but he looks uncomfortable.
Like he lacked confidence. I think the prime example of that is the last play. If you go back and watch that replay, that ball should be thrown on a line, back-shouldered. Like the corner has given up so much cushion.
Yeah, he was 5 yards in the end zone.
His butt's into the end zone. Like literally pointing into the end zone as well. Like he's playing deep corner fade. Like you cannot not throw that ball up in the air and allow him to go make that play. You got to rip that thing. Yeah. And I think that only happens if you 100% have confidence.
And I think that's the to J. Will's point, I think that's the situation you get with the 50-50 ball is you want that air under it because, hey, maybe we'll get a PI here, let the playmaker get a chance to make a decision here. But it was played perfectly by a defender. Props to him.
Absolutely. I think what Washington does is like a full court press type deal, and I think it's very reciprocated. It's how you feel on a basketball court when you get full court press and you're not used to it. Like you immediately tense up. Every time you have the ball, your whole thought process is do not turn the ball over because you turn the ball over, they're going to go score again really quickly. Like things can unwind very quickly when a team runs a full court press. And I agree. I think that's kind of the feeling that Washington gave to Texas. I think that's kind of what they've done when they do play up to the tier of football that they can. And Texas just could not handle it for 4 quarters.
Absolutely. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, and rate, review. And we are trying to cross over 20,000 subscribers today. Wow. A little bug in my throat there. 20,000 subs today. We're trying to cross over, so be a part of that mission with us. Hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe, join us for good. Before we move on, I want to talk about this coaching staff from Washington. I think as a person who studies the game of football and has like really gotten to know some of these coaches and the arc of like the success stories of these guys, I don't, apart from winning, I don't know what makes a guy that is a lifer in the D2 ranks or a guy that is a lifer in the high school ranks. I've sat in those rooms and listened to some of those guys and listened to them talk football, and then sat in a room with a guy who's coaching Power 5 football, and you'd be hard-pressed to find the difference in just the level of knowledge and what they have and what they got going on. And I say that to say that the differentiations in levels of coaching are not that drastic, right? Football is football. Like, we can only X's and O's so much. And I think this Washington coaching staff is a prime example of this. These are lifers. These are guys who have just now gotten their crack at it. Like Caleb DeBoer, for an example. That's a football coach that played his college football career at Sioux Falls, a Division II school, okay? And then got a GA, or took like 10 years off of football, just didn't do anything, and then was a GA at Sioux Falls, and then ultimately became an OC at Sioux Falls for 3 years, and then was a 7-year head coach at Sioux Falls, and then went to like Idaho, Podunk, nowhere, Division I, and then went to UNLV or whatever, and then went to Fresno State, and boom, now he's like one of the best coaches in college football. And turns out, if you look at this dude's wiki, he's been one of the best coaches in college football for years. I don't think he's lost a game in like forever. I know he lost some last year, but when you look at his track record before Washington, it's like 11-0, 12-0, 13-0, 10-0, 0-0-0, like 0 losses over and over and over again. This is a dude who climbed his way up without a lot of clout. Like, even when he was announced as the Washington head coach, I think a lot of people said, huh? Who's that? And next thing you know, guys balling out. Same thing for his offensive coordinator, Ryan Grubb. Ryan Grubb spent 6 years at Sioux Falls as a Division II offensive coordinator. Ryan Grubb crawled up with DeBoer, and now is being loyal to him. They talked about it on the broadcast last night. It was something I was unaware of because I just don't dig into offensive coordinator hires that much at other programs. I just respond and react to the news, like when they hired Tommy Rees at Alabama. But I didn't know that Nick Saban tried to steal this guy off of Washington's staff last year until last night. I didn't know that was, the case, that Ryan Grubb turned down Alabama and turned down Nick Saban to return to this roster because he believed in what he told his players, which is, if all of y'all come back, if Rome Odunze, if you come back, if McMillan, if Polk, if y'all come back, if Michael Penix comes back, we have an opportunity to go compete for a national title. And I love when football coaches not only have track records like this, they're small guys that get an opportunity to win on a big stage, but I also love when coaches stand by their word like that, because golly, I couldn't imagine how hard that was to turn down the greatest football coach of all time, who also, by the way, every single time you do well there, you're getting a P5 big-time coaching job, period, which is what I would assume Ryan Grubb wants one day based off his track record. So I think it's like, even their defensive coordinator. A defensive coordinator has been in coaching Power 5 Division I football since 1998. He is a lifer, okay? Just a really good coaching staff that deserves their flowers this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, I have a theory on, because you said, I don't know what the difference is between these D2 guys and these D1 guys and even NFL guys. I mean, I think the X's and O's standpoint, they're virtually on the same level. Some guys have a certain edge. I mean, even down to NAIA. Yeah. It's what you can do in the recruiting and the transfer portal and game managing or roster management from the NFL standpoint. That's why some college coaches that are the greatest college coaches don't make it in the NFL. That's why certain NFL coaches don't make it in college. I think you have to be, and even on D2, there's not a level of roster management, NIL, transfer portal stuff that you have to worry about as a D2 coach. So, I mean, like, look at Washington's recruiting ranks. They're not doing very good in recruiting. The last two classes have been outside the top 25. But the fact that you
Tech out-recruited them this class.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not like Kalen DeBoer is an insane recruiter, but the fact that he's an incredible X's and O's guy, and you've got the transfer portal that can now level the playing field. I think that's what we've seen more than anything, is that the transfer portal has leveled the playing field for so many X's and O's coaches that are really good at X's and O's, but can't necessarily get the roster. I mean, what's Washington without Michael Penix right now?
A roster with 3 NFL football players at wide receiver with no quarterback.
There you go.
So they're Ohio State.
That's what I was about to say.
And I mean, and I don't know, were all the wide receivers like recruited, or are they transfers too?
McMillan transferred.
Yeah, he transferred. I think Roma Dunze's been there.
Roma Dunze.
Yeah,
has
but
been there.
I mean,
think Polk has been there.
Yeah, even to my point that like
one of them transferred from the SEC, I believe.
Guys
NC
like
State.
Yeah, but guys like Kalen DeBoer and Eli Drinkowitz, coaches like that are really good X's and O's coaches, now have an opportunity to be elevated to elite status because you have the transfer portal, you have NIL, things like such as that.
Makes it so much more interesting knowing that. And then, like, looking back at how they all – I mean, every single one of them, how they reacted after the game and, like, their post-game interviews and everything. Yeah. Like, DeBoer, very stoic. Like, just like, yeah, had a great game.
I don't even think stoic's the word, man. He was robotic.
Yeah.
It was nuts.
And Penix, in a way, was the same way. Like, for a guy that battled his way through Indiana, took his licks, and then got to Washington, had to do another year, and then came back and is, like, now competing for a national title, just – I don't know.
Hey, man, real naysayers know free my boy Hooley. Free my boy Hooley. That was dope.
Yeah, that was.
He is full-fledged Florida. Even with the do-rag, like my man is stunting. My man is cold.
Speaking of Florida, did you see KJ Jefferson's commitment tweet?
To UCF?
I think that was fake.
Oh,
you got duped?
Don't do the thing.
Duped.
Man, I hate the internet nowadays.
But it was funny.
Because I went to the actual account and like scrolled through and was like, I think this is it.
I think they did the same thing earlier in the year.
Hey, we got a whole nother hour coming up for you right now. It is our local hour. We're going to talk that dog. We'll see you in a couple minutes.
Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog?
What's up? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back for our second hour, our local hour. We're going to talk that dog. As you just saw, that was a little lad McConkey footage. I got something special for you guys tonight. There's a bunch of careers coming to an end, a bunch of really, really great careers at the University of Georgia coming to an end. And this class and the preceding classes moving forward, all of these guys, all right, not all of them, most of them, I'd say 85% of these guys, I have spent either a lot of time with, I have spent a lot of time evaluating, or I know like really, really, really well through my time covering them, this class in particular, right? Some of these names we're going to talk about tonight, like Ladd, that video is from, I believe, February of 2020, okay? That was a long time ago, and I left the field that day thinking, ain't no way. And we're going to talk about that tonight. We do have a great show from you guys, or for you guys. We're going to finish it up strong right here on this local hour. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, and rate, review. What an ass whipping. What an ass whipping that Orange Bowl game was. I think if you listen to the post-game press conference, by the way, I've been in a lot of those. I thought that was the best version of Kirby Smart we've heard in a press conference. He was perturbed. He was pissed off. He had a lot to say. He had messages. He had things that he wanted to say. Not just did he have a lot to say. He had things coming into that press conference he wanted to deliver, one of those being a message. I think he's obviously gone well over viral. I don't even think that's described viral. He knew what he was doing. He knew what he was going to do. But his comments about, I hope everyone saw that. Everybody needs to see that. Something needs to be fixed. That was by design. I'm gonna let you know that right now. At the University of Georgia, the message was clear. If you have any thought processes about opting out of this football game, stay your ass at home. You are not getting on this bus. You are not coming down to Miami. You will not be in the mix. You will not be a member of our organization if you have any idea of doing anything other than working your butt off to play in this football game, okay? And that's how it was approached. And I'm not going to say it upset Georgia that it was not being approached the same way on the other side, because I don't think they care. I think it was interdependent of them. But I know who does care about the future of the sport of college football and the sanctity of each individual game, and that is Kirby Smart. So when Kirby Smart, I would imagine, found out that there was about to be 12, 13, however many opt-outs there was for Florida State, whatever the final number was, which I think was 12.
Yeah.
All right, whatever the final number was, which was 12. I think Kirby Smart realized that this wasn't going to be I'm going to take my foot off the gas in the second half. I think it was, okay, well, if that's going to be the opportunity that you present us, then in the second half, we're going to run offense with our backups, and we're not going to take our foot off the gas. And we're going to prove a point. And the point is every opportunity matters. Now, I kept going through like a kind of a toss-up on how to do this and what I should feel about this, because part of me wants to feel some type of sympathy for the absolute gut punch that Florida State got and Florida State received. And part of me wants to say I would respond the same way if I were in that predicament. The other part of me wants to say I listened to that coach and Mike Norvell say all the right things, though. That's what was weird to me. Even in his post-game speech to his players, if you go listen to that, he's saying all the coach stuff about how every opportunity matters. How even if you show up and give your best effort, sometimes you are not guaranteed the results that you want. He had tremendous talking points. Everything that man said meant and sounded like the game mattered and his football players would respond as thus. And his roster just didn't. His roster didn't at all. And I'm perplexed because I don't know. I really don't know what to do, because in one end and on one hand, I would almost rather the coach come out and say, hey, we got screwed, right? Dan Mullen did it. Dan Mullen got cooked. Dan Mullen got absolutely cooked for being honest, which was my football team gave up on the season a month ago. This is about next year. And when he said that, everybody absolutely just berated him. And then we got Norvell coming up there saying all the coach speaking on the other end, his players said it didn't matter. And is it too far of a stretch? Because I know he's a good football coach. I think he's going to be really, really successful. And he's recruiting at a rate that this isn't going to matter. The culture is eventually going to turn like it did at Georgia, like it has at other places, where once you get the roster set, once you can recruit at a high level, you start getting your guys in and all that good stuff. But guys, what do I do? What should I do about the fact that there was a coach that very clearly said all of the right things about how this game mattered, and his players just simply did not respond to the message that they were giving delivered?
This is my opinion on it, and I think Mike Norvell is not at fault for anything you want to point fingers at for culture or anything like that. I think he's doing all the right things. But what I think some of these coaches are falling trap to is that when you are having to dip into the portal so much, you can't consistently build a culture. You can't consistently instill the same things each and every year and have that build and build and build and build, kind of like Kirby Smart's done at Georgia. When you're bringing in so many different guys every year, you almost feel like you have to change the culture every single year. Like it's a new standard every single year, because we got a whole different group of guys every single year. But if he can continue building these recruiting classes and he can continue to just instill the guys that he wants and he picks from the recruiting trail and they stay there for 3 years, then I think that culture is going to catch. But when you're getting portal guys, it's kind of like here.
To his credit, I think 5th overall class right now in the 2024 class, like Norvell, that's what I'm saying. I'm really perplexed because he is turning these things around. Like the right things are happening. Should we just one-off this? Like, should it just not matter?
Here's what I think, and Jay will hit it on the head, absolutely. I think this is a result of the fact that you built a roster that was heavy reliant on the transfer portal, because when you have transfer portal athletes, a lot of them are, and I don't want to say it because it makes it sound selfish, but they have individualistic mentalities. I'm here to better myself, to better my career, to better my draft spot, and when all of that is taken away and none of that matters now, why do I play in that bowl game? That's not to Mike Norvell's fault. What he's done with his roster is incredible, and he said the right things, as you said. But if I'm Johnny Wilson or another guy who comes in, or Keon Coleman, where I transfer in and I've got a first-round projection, I've been with these guys for less than 400 days now. It's not like I've built a team. I haven't built a brotherhood.
Shit, he got there in April.
Yeah. So it's not like I've built a brotherhood where I'm Brock Bowers, where I've been with this team for 3 years. We've won 2 natties. We've been through everything. I'm not going to leave him now. Obviously, he didn't play, but guys like Kamari Lassiter and Javon Bullard and such as that. I think that's where you see the difference, where it's an individualistic mentality, which isn't bad. I mean, it's they still play hard and everything such as that, but you don't have that unison, that one group that you saw with Georgia.
And I think you both hit it, right? It is the portal culture. It is the mercenary behavior, right? The I'm only here to maximize my output and kill as many soldiers as I can. And once the last meaningful war is done, I'm packing my bags, taking my check, and going home. I do think there is some type of substantive change to college football coming. I don't know if it's going to be like whether or not it's the window. I think the calendar right now is the biggest issue with this, right? I think you got guys that are trying to not only protect their draft stocks opting out, now you got transfer portal issues going on and rosters are getting depleted. And, you know, it's way easier for the 5th guy to declare that he's going to the NFL draft when they already got 18 guys in the portal that are no longer at practice. You know what I mean? Like, these things get a lot easier. And a lot of people have, not a lot of people, but the obvious take is that the class schedule can only be manipulated so much. When do you guys go back to class?
Next
Monday.
The 8th? All right, so the class schedule can only be manipulated so much. So you can't sit there and say, okay, the national championship is Monday, January 9th. Like, the portal window closed. Like, classes have started. Like, you're in trouble. You know what I mean? Like, the window can only do so much. I call it a little buhaki on that. I think that college football is obviously what pays the bills. And if college football called the registrar and said, hey, I need a 15-day grace period for our football players, they'll make it up in the summertime, who says no? I mean, seriously, how many different leeways do college athletes get? Student athletes get all kinds of different, courtesies, right? Ever heard of a class checker? Okay. If you're an athlete, you know about a class checker. All right. A class checker is the person who decides whether or not you made it to class that day. All right. And whether or not you are a relationship builder like yours truly, that class checker might be your friend by about the second week of the semester. And guess who ain't got to go to class the next 5 weeks? Yours truly. Okay. So this is happening all over the place. Okay. Maybe some programs are a little bit tighter than others, but school is obviously no longer the main reason and the main cog in the machine. So let's stop acting like it is.
We can come play school.
I came to school to play football. I didn't come to school to play school. You know what I mean? Like, that's how all these kids feel. RIP. But anyways, I think the calendar will eventually get changed, or maybe, and here's the easy thing, right? All these kids are making NIL money. You withhold their last check. Duh. I mean, if my net 30 check, if I quit at my job at SI today, guess what? I don't get paid until next month. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to withhold my check. All right, so that's what you should do. Withhold the check. If there's a $20,000 monthly installment on the line, they're going to show up. I'm here to tell you. It's $20,000 in petty cash that they've probably already spent. Yeah. They're going to show up. So I think if you tie some of this to their financial incentives, you would be able to get a little bit more participation in these.
Do you put yourself at any risk for any legal trouble there? Because technically there is no pay-to-play law for college football right now. And yes, I understand that everyone's making NIL checks on the side. But if you say, hey, we're going to withhold that, is that something where a player can then say, I was promised X amount of dollars through this NIL collective and the school's withholding it now?
I mean, you would just hit the portal. That's what all the Texas A&M guys have done.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All the Texas A&M guys claim that they were promised all of this money and it never showed up. Jaden Rashada, same thing, right? Was promised all this money and he ended up getting out of his NLI because of it, right? False promises and false protests are not something that the NCAA is going to get you in trouble for, right? Or any governing body is going to get you in trouble for.
So then these are all just handshake deals.
Oh, yeah, it's all cash payments. It's the reason why I haven't seen Jimmy get tied up for tax evasion yet. I mean, you're telling me that we got college football kids out here making $300,000 of untaxed income and they're handling their taxes properly. We're all believing that.
No.
We're all believing that. You know how to do your taxes?
No.
You know how to do your taxes?
My uncle's a CPA.
All right. Your uncle's a CPA. Uncle will help you out. That's fine. I'm going to tell you right now, the kid from Statesboro who just now found $100,000 in his bank account.
Nope.
He does not know how to file his taxes. Okay, so no different than I didn't know how to file my taxes before I even had a business license. Okay, these are things that you have to figure out in growth periods. And here's how I know none of it's being done quote, legally, because we ain't had none of these problems. Mm-hmm. All this is undocumented income. All this is back channel income. All this is illegal pay-for-play income. That's how it's so obvious, because I promise you right now, Jimmy from Texas Tech would be hung up by the IRS right now if it was legal tender, if it was actually registered income. If that was happening, we would be having CPAs tied into all of these deals everywhere, but we don't. We just have the Classic City Collective handling all this business for 130 people. Huh? You see what I'm saying? Like, no.
It's grandpa birthday checks. That's what it is.
Amen,
Hey,
brother.
Grandpa had a lot of oil money.
Hey.
That's why I'm sitting courtside.
Hey, I love it. That was the best lie ever told by a college student. And there's been a lot of good ones.
Yeah.
A lot of good ones. The "we're rich and I come from privilege" from Johnny Manziel. Man. Holy shit, what a devil. What a devil that dude was. Yeah, all right. So that I think we talked enough. Have we talked enough about the game in and of itself? There's not much to really break down. We didn't even break it down going into it.
One thing I did want to mention when you were talking
Jackson
about
Muschamp?
Okay, how about him for sure?
Slam.
That was probably the coolest moment of the game. But when I was, they released the final victory trailer today on Twitter, and they posted a snippet from the halftime speech, and Kirby was like, we came here to finish business, to send these guys out the right way. And it's freaking 42-3. He says, that job ain't finished out there. We're not done yet. We still got a whole lot more work to do out there. And I'm just like, geez, man. They really just wanted to murder.
Savage, man. I really think they wanted to. I think they would have done it to anybody. So if Florida State fans are listening to this, I don't want you to take this personally. I think Kirby took it personally that at some places it's okay to quit. I think he took the whole culture personally.
I mean, it was obvious from
not just Florida State, all of them.
Yeah.
Every team that had dozens of opt-outs, I think Kirby Smart took it personally and went out to make a message about it.
It was obvious from the moment he came out the tunnel, from the presser soundbite that went viral, he was going to make an example out of Florida State. Mm-hmm. And I think he did. I mean, you've got everyone talking about how something needs to be done in college football to prevent this from happening, prevent this massacre from happening.
All right, so we talked about, should we call it eulogizing? But what other word do we have?
I couldn't think of a different word. Like a send off. I don't know.
Send off sentiment.
Yeah.
Big alliterations guy. But nonetheless, well, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we'll add a 9th.
I would have worn my black suit if I knew you were writing eulogies.
Hey, real talk. This is something I do. It's kind of morbid, but I think of my life as a speaker, right? Mm-hmm. And I know everyone else in my family is not going to want to speak if someone were to pass away. So I know, I'm pretty confident whenever it happens, whoever it happens to first, I'm probably going to have to eulogize whatever happened. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna have to take that one on the chin. And so this sounds really, really morbid. But whenever I think about somebody in my extended family that I haven't talked to in a while, before I call them, I'm mentally prepared to eulogize them. Sorry. Weird energies going on in this head since I've had children.
It's going to be very funny when you're, hey, Brooks, how you doing, man? Did you just write my eulogy?
Yeah, basically. I probably did. I don't do it to young people, though, so don't worry about that.
Oh, thank God.
You got to be over a certain line for me to be doing it to you. But, hey, let's eulogize some football careers, shall we?
Let's do it.
Some dog careers. Let's start with Kendall Milton. I remember watching Clovis, California highlight tapes. Now, you got to remember, Clovis High School is like the equivalent of Blessed Trinity here in Georgia. Okay, with regards to the players that were around Kendall. Kendall was playing with like 6 foot, 225 pound centers and guards. Okay, at 6'2", 225 pounds. It was really, really hard to watch Kendall and get a true read on what he might have been other than what you saw on the tape. And what I saw on the tape in high school was a 6'2", 225 pound kid who was exceptionally good at being patient behind the line of scrimmage, because as you would imagine, playing behind that offensive line, there wasn't a lot of gaping holes that were being created. So my comparison for Kendall Milton coming out of high school was none other than Le'Veon Bell, because Le'Veon Bell was this 6'2", 230-pounder who played the running back position like this and then like that. Right, he would bounce around, hot feet behind the line of scrimmage, wait for a combination block to be delivered, or wait for a down block to be delivered, or wait for some space to be created, and then stick his foot in the gas and go. That's exactly what the ability to deliver blocks. If you go back and watch Kendall Milton Clovis tape, that's exactly what you will see. Okay, so that was my take for him, or my comp for him coming out of high school. The hard part about comparing any running back ever to Le'Veon Bell is that Le'Veon was Le'Veon in the NFL because of what he could do outside of being a running back, right? His mismatch capabilities. And I don't know if Kendall would have ever developed that, but his running style in high school was very akin to Le'Veon. And then you see once he gets into college, things start to change a little bit. We don't see this patience behind the line of scrimmage. We see more of this one cut, stick your foot in the gas, get inside the hole type of approach from Kendall. And it ultimately led to like most of his elite, like great college runs. All of his explosives were zero hesitation, I dare you to try to tackle me now type of runs. And that's who he developed into. And that was the type of football player he became. And it was fun. It was really, really fun to watch. And honestly, the development from this super patient, like really trying to develop and work and maximize every single play type of running style, it morphed into this one cut downhill back, because that's what football is now. Football is no longer for guys the size of Kendall. This, I'm gonna try to hit it for 100 today. I'm gonna try to hit it for 90 on this every single time I touch it, be explosive type guy. That's not who he ultimately became. Who he ultimately became was, again, like I said, I dare you to try to tackle me. Mm-hmm. I'm 6'2", I'm 230 pounds by the time I left college, and you can try. You can try to hit me, but I'm ultimately gonna run through you. All of the injury luck and unlucky circumstances for this individual, they sucked, man. They were truly unfortunate for this individual. And for this guy, this was never, his hands broke, or, he's got a broken toe that he might be able to tough through. This was always, almost always, soft tissue injuries that you just have nothing you can do. All you can do is rehab and pray it doesn't happen again, whether it be a sprained MCL, whether it be a tweaked hamstring, whether it be another bump knee, whatever it was almost always, damn, this is bad luck for you, son. We just got to rehab hard. There's no, bite the towel, be tough. There was none of that for this guy throughout his career, and I thought that was ultimately unfortunate. But here was the great news about Kendall, right? I think it's unquestionable that Kendall Milton finished his career playing the best version of football that he had. And I think that says a whole hell of a lot about who this individual was and who this individual is, by the way, okay? To have all the bad luck in the world for 3 years, it felt like, and then to peak, to absolutely have your best version of yourself down the stretch in your last football games, man. Whew, that took a lot of mental fortitude from this individual. I will always remember him early on in his career for 2020 road game against Alabama. I think if you go back and look in that game, I think he only had like 6 or 7 touches. But it was noticeable to me. This guy's going to be something special. This guy's going to be really, really good. I think I go back to that 2020 Tennessee game. I think that was the football game that Kirby was like, this guy's hard to tackle. And I think after the game, if you go back and listen to it, you can hear Kirby talk about how I thought it was real. You know, we hit him in practice all the time, but we can't really wrap up, can't really go to the ground. But guys bounce off this dude unlike they're supposed to for freshmen. I think he said it exactly like that. Guys bounce off this dude. He wasn't wrong, man. Like, this was one of my they're all my favorites. I enjoyed every I don't know of a single Georgia football player to date where I was like, God, that guy sucked at cover. He was a prick. Ain't a single one of them. Now, Chaz Chambliss make you sweat. Chaz Chambliss make you sweat. All right. He thinks he makes you think he's about to kill you at any moment. But I think that's just his demeanor. It's
just his aura.
Yeah, it's just the vibes. You know, Chuck Norris checks under his bed for Chaz Chambliss type shit.
Yeah, I mean, the last 5 games is the best 5-game stretch since DeAndre Swift in 2018 by a Georgia running back. I think it's 63 touches, 453 rushing yards, maybe 463, averaged 7.9 yards per carry and 9 touchdowns in 5 games. Unreal. I mean, the epitome of ended it the best you could.
What was his – where does he rank in career yards per carry?
Oh, it's got to be.
He's got to be top 3, right?
It's got to be
high.
Dude, there were years where he averaged – last year he averaged 6.8 yards per carry, didn't he?
Yeah.
He's got to be way up there.
Got to be.
Yeah, no, I'm super happy his career with Georgia ended the way it did because, like you said, that freshman season was really special. And he got hurt during that, too, and it was just kind of like
Florida.
He could never get fully healthy again. And it seemed like – I don't want to say it was a shell of what he looked like freshman year, but there was always something kind of more there that you're like, this isn't who Kendall Milton truly is. And I think these last few games you really got to see that. And when he's one of the best running backs in the SEC, if not the nation. Mm-hmm. So he closed out his career the right way.
Do we have the Dejon Edwards?
Oh, no.
No, you're good. It's in the recent files on Dropbox. I'll continue to ad-lib before we go into that one. But no, you're right. I think we saw glimpses of what he could be, and then there were years of potential, and people felt like it was bad luck. Maybe even people, I mean, not maybe. I know for a fact there were some hot takes against the Kendall Milton bandwagon for a while there in the middle of that stretch of bad luck injuries. But to see this guy show immediate promise as a freshman, ultimately battle injuries, work his way back into playing his best level of football, to me, man, that's kind of what it's all about right there. I want to go to Kamari Lassiter right quick while my man handles that. American Christian Academy. You know where that's at, Kirby?
I want to say Florida.
Incorrect, sir. It is in Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
I did know that. Damn it. I knew that.
Kamari Lassiter played his high school football right outside the gates of Bryant-Denny Stadium. Though he is a Savannah, Georgia boy, he is a Southeast Georgia boy. His mom needed to take a job out there in Tuscaloosa, and wanted to send him to a Christian academy and worked her butt off to be able to do so. Fun fact, I was looking it up today because I remember talking about him during his film breakdown that we did on the channel, and talking about how this dude was criminally underrated. When we first found him, he was a 3-star. He was ranked 863rd in the class.
Not bad.
He shot up 500 spots in one re-rank. 500, almost half a brick in one re-ranking. I remember watching his tape and begging him to play star.
That would have been interesting to watch Kamari at star.
Mm-hmm. I wanted it so bad. I went through – you know who did this to me? Tyreek Stevenson. Tyreek Stevenson's freshman year, I went through this phase where I just wanted every single player that I knew was a ball player to play star. Because I think it's the most impactful position at Georgia, the way that they do it. I mean, shit, we're going to talk about a guy tonight that played the position this year, led the team in tackles for losses, and interceptions. Okay? That position at Georgia impacts the game more than any other defender on the field, period, point blank. You can argue with a wall. I don't care. It is the most important and most impactful position at Georgia, and every single time I saw one of these dudes, I said the same thing about Javon Bullard coming out of high school. Please, for the love of God, stick him at the star. Now, what I didn't realize was this would ultimately go on to be one of the best cover corners ever at the University of Georgia. This was the guy. And I really do think he's got an argument for sure in this department. It's Champ Bailey. And then you tell me who had a better career than Kamari Lassiter outside of Champ Bailey.
The only one you could really argue is DeAndre Baker.
And I'm throwing that one right out of the water. Because, I mean, granted, he didn't win a Jim Thorpe Award, but he did it for 2.5 years as the guy. Whereas, I mean, DeAndre had 2 full seasons of being the dude. Right, 17 and 18?
I think he started in 16 some, but he was not the DeAndre Baker.
So about the same time of starting and with a Jim Thorpe Award. Mm-hmm. And the whole idea of he didn't allow a career touchdown pass, right? Yeah. But to me, man, with the full like circle of who the dude was and what type of football player he was, I would take Kamari over Baker. Now, granted, I have some hindsight 2020 here, but nonetheless, this dude's career is up there.
Better tackler for sure.
Yes. And it's just up there, period. Like, it's in the discussion of there's Champ Bailey, and then I would dare you to argue between Kamari, DeAndre Baker, and whatever other name you want to throw up in that list. I remember talking to him at the SC Media Days this year, and do y'all remember his first big play? Kamari
Against
Lassiter?
Vanderbilt, the interception.
I asked him about that one because, it was a hell of a play. He's in the low hole. He runs about 45 yards, lays completely out, and picks a ball like he's a center fielder. And I remember watching that going, that's a ball player. Like, that's an impactful football player. That's a guy who's going to make plays and do so at an extremely highly athletic clip, right? And then I wanted to know, like, hey, man, what'd you see? What were you seeing in that play? Turns out, complete wrong spot. Wasn't supposed to be there. Completely playing outside of his responsibilities. Got his ass chewed out on the sideline as soon as he came over for making one of the biggest plays of his life. And that, to me, spoke about two things. One, sometimes you just let instincts take over and you just go be a football player. And sometimes, no matter how good you play, great job, do better type deal from Kirby Smart at a constant clip. But, yeah, I remember – I do. I remember watching the the American Christian Academy tape out of Tuscaloosa and saying, please, let him play nickel. And I think I was wrong. I think I was wrong because he turned out to be one of the better cover corners we've watched.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. Just watching him over the years, it was just – he could do it all. It felt like now Georgia's had some great defensive backs over the years. They have had some really good ones, especially over these last 4 years. But it feels different watching Kamari Lassiter play than it even did watching Keely Ringo play. Like, when you watch Kamari Lassiter play, you feel like he is just dominating at everything that he does, that he is just doing it at another tier that no one else is capable of. When Keely Ringo was good, it was like, yeah, that's a really good football player. When Kamari Lassiter played well, like he did most Saturdays, it was like, holy crap, we were watching one of the best.
It was such a joy to get to watch him practice down at the Orange Bowl. I've already done the complaining about it, but I'll do it again for people who are listening. First time, if you're a first-time listener today, go ahead and subscribe. But we don't get to see practice a lot. Y'all know this. Probably like 5 times a year. 3 of those come during bowl season. And for the first time since I've been there, he actually let us see something. Like, he actually let us watch them practice, not just watch them do indies and take steps and walk around with a big middle finger on their face to the media while they take pictures. For the first time, we actually got to see them do something. And, dude, Kamari Lassiter had no business being in that football game, had no reason. Hell, Kirby Smart told him he didn't even really have much to gain playing in that football game. There wasn't a dude practicing harder. There was not a dude practicing harder than Kamari Lassiter out there in the Orange Bowl week. So, yeah, that's just who he is, what he is. It's a football-playing dude. On to our next one. Shouts out to Kamari Lassiter. I think you're going to be a first-round draft pick. On to our next one, Dejon Edwards. I went back and watched a film breakdown that we did of Dejon coming out of high school. And I want to play this for the audience because what?
It won't let me open it. I don't know what Dropbox is doing, but it's like, I don't know.
Can we put it up over there?
It's like if I click on it, it just doesn't open anything.
All right. Well, anyways, scratch that. I nailed that one. About 4 minutes into that film study, I started talking about his dead leg from high school. Okay. I started talking about his ability to make people miss in the hole in high school. I started talking about how he doesn't look like he's a breaker, right? He doesn't look like he's got the long speed, but he's serviceable, right? I started talking about how this is South Georgia football. Like, dude, this is cutthroat. I think if you listen to Kirby talk about anything, with regards to Dejon over his career, first thing he mentions, Colquitt County. Colquitt County, okay? South Georgia football. The other thing you'll notice, if you go back and watch that film study, that dude was thick in high school. Dejon was like 210 in high school. It looked
bowling ball.
And then as soon as he got to college, I remember like taking a picture of him in, I think it was maybe the Mercedes-Benz Stadium or something, but I got a close-up look on him. I was like, that what? That's him? Like, he was big in high school and immediately trimmed down once he got to college. But no, was extremely quiet the entire time. Was even quiet in his high school recruitment. He was also, and I think Georgia fans will find this fun, he was also the Zach Evans backup plan. I don't know if y'all remember this, but this recruiting class was, we want Kendall Milton, and we want Zach Evans. That's what every Georgia fan and their mama wanted, right? And to an extent, I think that's what Georgia wanted. And I don't know when the laws and limitations and whatnot will come up on these types of stories, but, man, the Zach Evans one was a saga and a half. Any probing?
Oh, I thought you were going to continue building upon that.
No, it was a saga.
One thing.
I was just say, what was he supporting the Taliban or whatever it was?
Huh? What?
Let me look.
Did you get duped by Twitter again?
No.
What I was going to say about Dejon is, like, you know, when a lot of running backs in their early on in their career, when they get thrown into, like, mop-up duty is what you want to call it. A lot of the time it looks like they're
death march.
A lot of the time, it just looks like they're running their head into a wall, and there's like reps, and it's like, all right, just, you know, secure the ball, get
Chill
down,
out, bro.
Yeah,
Chill out, bro.
like, we're good. Dejon, it was like he was not treating it like, all right, we got 2 minutes left in a football game, we're up 40, like we just got to get over with. Like you could see him like methodically still working through his reads and everything. You could see the vision that he had as a player, and everybody got excited for mop-up duty because it was Dejon time. Everybody got excited for Dejon time, including myself. It was just interesting to watch him. And then it stayed consistent with him, and he continued to be reliable, even when he may not have came in as a first option or even envisioned being the number one option. He was just always there.
3 letters of intent.
What?
3 letters of intent.
What do you mean? Zach Evans. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. Go ahead.
I couldn't find the Twitter thing, but no, Dejon
Taliban deleted it.
No, it was something weird, but no, Dejon Edwards to me was always a guy where it's like. He somehow always found the hole. I don't know if it was because like he's shorter than the average running back, but oh man.
Yeah, me of all people.
Yeah, I was about to say.
But no, it felt like he was never getting tackled for loss to me.
Mm-hmm. Chicken salad out of chicken shit.
Yes, very much so. And those are the most fun running backs to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, we nailed the eval coming out of high school on him. I was really, really proud of that one, going back and watching it today. Also really proud of the just the differences in what we're doing. You know what I mean? Like when this channel first started, I had a microphone and a screen recording software, and I would literally just take clips of film and talk over them. You couldn't see me. I had this little like yellow dot thing that would circle over my play. Man, came a long, long way, as has this channel. By the way, I just looked at it. We are 25 subs from 20,000. Okay, so please, for the love of God, if you're listening today, and you have found us tonight. And I know there's 25 people in here who are not subscribed. It's just the math tells me that there is. Please hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to hit a milestone today. We're trying to hit a milestone today. I'm trying to buy a new pair of J's. I'm messing around running up. Let's talk about Lad McConkey. We started the show today with some film of Ladrick. And boy, oh boy, was that rough. Y'all saw it. Mans was about 5'10" and a half.
Yeah, looked
about
like
$160, $165.
When what?
And was falling all over himself. That's those clips he also, those are the best clips.
And he still looks stiff.
Yeah, real stiff. Couldn't really see the explosiveness. The ball when he caught the ball looked like a beach ball. It looked so big. All right, so we showed you that. All right, we showed you that to start the show tonight, because I'm gonna be honest. When I left that field that day, I don't often call Georgia and tell them that they're wrong, but I might have done it on that one. It might have just been like, not that you're wrong, just that I don't see that one, Coach. Like I see a lot of the guys that y'all signed. I mean, I at that time I'd already watched Jermaine Burton for like a long time. You watch Jermaine Burton run routes and do his thing in high school, and then you watch Ladd, and you can understand why one guy's a 4-star, borderline 5-star receiver, and the other guy's this kid from North Murray that nobody had heard of, right? That nobody had really known. But Georgia knew something about him. Georgia knew something about this kid. 2-sport athlete, multi-positioned in football. Okay, was a basketball player. That's where he actually got his first offer from Georgia, was when Kirby Smart went to watch this kid play hoops. And in pregame, he's 5'11", and he's just absolutely yamma time, okay, in pregame, doing the old we can't dunk in pregame, so I'm going to get my elbow over the rim and do like a
stupid GHSA.
Do a little lay. do a little lay over the top of the rim. So Georgia saw something, and what they saw was elite speed and elite wiggle and elite twitch, right, in a really, really compact frame and a really underdeveloped frame that would need some help once he got to college. But it was more than just a gamble on speed for me. When I go back and reassess the lad McConkey hit, right, because oh my God, they hit on this one, right, because they were the only Power 5 offer this kid had. Tennessee didn't want him. So that's a lifelong Tennessee fan. Okay, Tennessee did not want this kid. They did not think he was good enough, and somehow Georgia does. And Georgia turns him into a multi-time 500-yard receiver, okay, a true Z in their offense after being a North Murray kid who really had never played wide receiver. So I see that in March, and I knew that they were gambling on the speed and the twitch and the fact that this kid was a 4.38 guy, 4.41 guy, like he was really, really high-end twitch guy. All right, I knew that was the gamble. But what I failed to realize, but I didn't fail to realize it before he left for college because I learned real quickly that this was very much so a bet on intangible traits as it was the physical traits. This was a bet on the fact that this kid was going to work himself into a Power 5 football player, and that's exactly what he did. The video that we showed you to start the show, that is not even 90 days. It's about 60 days in difference between the film that we're about to show you right now. This was Lad McConkey right before he went to college. Take a look at this. So there you see it. All right. You saw the growth and the rapid change, right? First thing you said was, man, he looks thicker already. Mm-hmm. And I wrote an article about it at the time. He had gained 18 pounds in between the two sightings. Basically, I saw him in March, saw him in, 2 months later, whatever it was, had gained 18 pounds.
18 pounds in 60 days.
18 pounds in 60 days, just freaking getting after it, 2 a day in it. The other thing you'll notice about that, and it sucks that I'm on the northeast side of Atlanta now. Man, my job was easy back in the day. If you look in the background of that video, that's Lad McConkey running routes. There's Jermaine Burton running routes over there. Holden Stays, the tight end in the transfer portal from Notre Dame, he's in that film. And Pierce Spurlin is standing right behind Lad McConkey in those tapes. And, oh, by the way, Malik Willis is throwing the damn ball to him. So there is so much talent available if you just work a little bit. And I like going back and looking at those, not only to see the growth in him, but just, man, like, how far he's come and the different people that kind of really impacted his career. Obviously, the wide receivers coaches during his time at Georgia, both B-Mac and Cortez Hankton, but also guys like Terrence and guys like Nick Barkley, his high school football coach, and guys like our guy Stephon Brown, the TSP guy that goes up to Athens and still trains some of these guys. So the development and the work that dude put in was obvious. It was noticeable and it was palpable. And he going to go down, man. He going to go down in one of them ones, man. He going to have a long, successful career in Athens being a damn good dog.
Yeah, I mean, Lad's one of those players where 25 years from now, people are still going to be rocking the 84 jersey with McConkey on the back of it. Like, that's the type of impact that he had on this program. What a cool thing for him to go from no Power 5 offers to now, like, you're going to go down as one of the most beloved players of a program, and your name is going to be forever remembered by everybody and be talked about for forever. Just super cool to see the growth throughout his career and see him be able to make such a huge impact in games for Georgia as well.
I think he's probably the most exciting offensive Georgia player since Todd Gurley. in that every time the ball was in his hands, you were kind of like, ooh, what's he going to do?
Ooh, I
What's
like
going to
that.
happen here?
Ooh, I'm a pushback. I
mean,
Sony Michel and
Sony
Nick
Michel
Chubb,
is
dude.
Sony Michel is one of
yeah.
those, and Nick Chubb as well. But Ladd in the fact that you never knew how he was going to do it.
All right, I'm gonna push back on the Nick Chubb. I thought Nick Chubb was good for like 20 for $180 in college. He started ripping off 75, 80-yard rippers in pro ball. I remember him for being like 12 yards in a cloud of dust. You know what I mean? And think about what I'm saying. 12 yards in a cloud of dust. Not
And I'm talking about like Ladd is one of those like exciting
Hold your
players.
breath.
Absolutely.
The testament is the last play he had of his Georgia career. It's a double pass that he turns into a 30-yard touchdown scamper. Like that's one of the most exciting. And even like guys like Brock Bowers, who are arguably one of the greatest Georgia players of all time. Brock Bowers was more like a wow, look at this guy. He's a specimen. Ladd, like he doesn't look the part of a college football receiver. No offense to him, but
super gritty.
It's like, whoa, what is this guy doing? This is crazy.
Guy.
Coach's son.
Mm-hmm. Just hard worker.
Real tape grinder.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Plays real smart.
Fundamental.
First one in.
Not the most athletic, but boy does he try hard.
Gets the job done.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, he does.
I think that's good.
4.38.
I think that's good.
At a 4.38. We had a good laugh about this off camera at his last Orange Bowl interview. He got done and he's walking over to the next room. I said, "Ladies and gentlemen, the Julian Edelman comp of the future." And he turned around, he started laughing. I was like, "My bad, man. That's on me." I'm sure he does get tired of it though.
I'm sure he does.
Yeah. You know, Ladd. It's a good time.
Great
good
name.
time right there. Yeah, he's a great career. Going to have a great time in the league. Let's move on to Tykee Smith. I first met Tykee Smith in L.A. He was a camp counselor for the Nike opening. This was the Cade Klubnik year. This was the Quinn Ewers year. This would have been is that Gunnar Stockton? It would have been Gunnar Stockton's
sounds
year.
right, yeah.
No Georgia player out there at the competing in the quarterback event, but it's an event I go to every year no matter what. And I was out there, and lucky enough to run into Tykee. And I'll tell you this, Tykee Smith did not know me from Adam the first time we met. You guys know me. If I see an individual that I either need to develop a relationship with or want to develop a relationship with, I'm going to go speak to them, introduce myself, tell them who I am, all that good stuff. So we did the rigmarole with Tykee. And from the moment you introduce yourself to him, it's like you're a friend of his. I mean, it's the immediate vibes you get from him is that you're welcome into whatever, circles that he's got from Jump Street. Very, very welcoming soul and a very, very brilliant football player. I think that's the thing that's going to stick out to me about Tykee's time at Georgia and even his college football career in general. This is a football player that's not going to test well. I'm just going to let you know that right now. He's not going to run fast. He's not going to jump high. In fact, if I were his agent, if we were Agent Brooks, we wouldn't do anything at the combine. We would go and we would interview. We might weigh in. We might do the walk across the room in the underwear and make sure they know that we're, working out. And all that good stuff, and get on the scale, weigh in at 5'10 3/4", 5'11", 200 pounds, and call it a day. Interview well and do all that good stuff. But I would not show them what we all know, which is that you're not a linear athlete, you're an instinctual athlete. And that is the thing that I'm always going to remember about watching Tykee Smith play the game of football. Always moved first, always moved right. Never, ever, ever had improper leverage. Never, ever, ever barring some type of miscommunication, I never felt like he was getting just absolutely beat like a steel drum, was always in phase, was always in the right pocket. If you go back and watch his West Virginia tape, and if you watch this year tape, if you watch 2021, and you watch 2023, hell, it might have even been 2020.
2020.
Yeah, if you watch 2020 West Virginia tape, and you watch 2023 Georgia tape, in 2020 West Virginia, you will see the best open field tackling defensive back in the country. I shit you not. Okay, he was an absolute strap in space. If anybody was up one-on-one with Tykee Smith, they were going down during his time at West Virginia. He suffers through a foot injury, a knee injury at Georgia, and immediately I thought, against Missouri, a couple of years ago, you kind of saw that limitations. He wasn't back quite 100% to himself. I thought this year you saw what Tykee Smith could ultimately be. And you know how I know that? He led the team in tackles, he led the team in tackles for loss, and he led the team in interceptions. Tykee Smith had himself a year in 2023. And I think he deserved every bit of it, man. That's a guy who is very similar to Kendall, had some really, really tough times, and arguably finished his career playing some of the best football he's ever played.
I mean, he had the most tackles for loss by a defensive back at Georgia since Bakari Rambo in 2011. Javon Bullard did it last year, and then Tykee Smith did it again this year. But I mean,
star position, man.
That just speaks to what he was able to do this year.
Yeah, I think the thing that will always stick out about me about Tykee Smith was, one, his instincts, and then, like you said, his ability to tackle. I felt like anytime an offense ran a screen this year, Tykee Smith was just in the face of the wide receiver, blowing it up immediately. That's what I'll remember him most for. And like you said, super nice guy, super outgoing. I met him one time, actually, like the week he transferred in at a fundraiser event. Like I had like 18 years old.
Yeah.
He was, again, eye contact, super nice. Like genuinely cared about what you were saying. So shout out Tykee Smith.
Held the door for him one time.
I love hearing that the in-person eval checked off on 2 different boxes there, because sometimes you can just get a guy on a good day, or vice versa, get a guy on a bad day.
Right.
But 2 different interactions and multiple over the years, you kind of understand who a guy is, and that's exactly who this dude is. So yeah, there you go.
How are you doing? How's your Christmas, Christian?
It was good, man. What about you?
Sorry, dude. When SEC coaches text, you text back.
Oh, no doubt.
That's just the rules.
Ooh, I'm just kidding. Don't answer.
It's actually about a Georgia player in the portal. Ooh. Asked if he can play. And I said, if you can keep him healthy. Who do you think I'm talking about? Leave it up for the chat. All right.
Do I want to answer?
Yeah, no, you don't. Cedric Van Pran Granger has not announced yet, but come on. We all know, right? Like, does what's known have to be said?
No.
All puns intended. We know this guy. We know this guy's going to the league. And I'll be honest with you, man. I don't know of many players that have lived up to what they were advertised and billed to be as much as this dude did. This dude was billed as the #1 offensive center in the country. He was a borderline 5-star at the center position, which, by the way, since Clay Webb, ain't happened. I wonder why. You know what I mean? Like, really, really hard to live up to a 5-star projection at the offensive center position. This dude did it. This dude did all that and more. Coming into college, he was billed as this transcendent, going to be the next one type of leader at the center position. And guess what? He lived up to that too. He did all that and more, okay? He was everything he was advertised to be. And I think the thing that I will remember most about Cedric, outside of the All-American caliber play, outside of the fact that he was a leader in this organization and one of the most pivotal leaders in this organization, particularly on the offensive side of the football, for a matter of 3 years. Not only on top of that, he started 44 consecutive games in a row. The record for number of starts at the offensive line position is 50. He did 44 of them in a row. Okay, so this is one of the greatest offensive linemen in the history of Georgia. And I think, if Ben Jones and David Andrews weren't already like bona fide, guaranteed NFL like superstars at the center position, this dude would have an argument for the greatest center of all time. And I still think he does. I still think he really, really has a solid argument for best center of all time. But I think the #1 thing that was noticeable, and I will remember and I will always hold value in this relationship that I formed with this particular football player that I covered. His football intellect is something to behold. His ability to converse the knowledge of football, his ability to explain what he's seeing, what he's thinking, what he's feeling about a game that is super, super complex does not go by the wayside of somebody like me. Like when I listen to Cedric talk about football, I learn. And that's not always common. I get that from coaches. I get that from coordinators. I get that from NFL guys that I talk to during the summer that I get to see and pick their brain. Very rarely do I hear college football players just unload knowledge, just week after week after week, every single time you talk to them. This was a very special one, very, very special football player. And I don't know. I don't know how many more good ones like this that you're going to see. More great ones, I should say, like this.
I remember after the first national title, they had done the parade and everything. They painted, they had the national title logo on midfield, all that good stuff. And I remember reading an article, maybe it probably was written by us, I'm sure, or I probably wrote the article as a matter of fact. But
all right, subtle flex.
Big flex.
Not the point of the story. Anyways, the article was about how, Georgia was kind of talking about going into the next season, and Cedric Van Pran, and I think Kirby said, Cedric came in the office and said, take all that stuff down, man. Rip up the logo. Like, none of that matters anymore. And I was like, man, what do you mean? Like, we just ended like a 40-plus year drought. That stuff matters. Like, keep that stuff out. And he's like, get it out of here. Like, that doesn't mean anything for this next season. Like, we don't want to focus on that. That's not what we're worried about anymore. That just speaks to, like, his leadership and the way that he like, grabbed a room so easily.
There was a very similar story coming out of Kirby released it after the national title game. He said that, like, the second or third day of practice out there in L.A., that Kirby chewed their ass and said, y'all are acting like y'all don't care. Y'all are practicing like you don't. This does not matter to you. And apparently Cedric pulled him off the side of the field after practice and said, Coach, I don't take kindly to you speaking about me like that.
It was as a media day. He's like, that hurt my feelings.
That hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
And I doubt he said it like that.
Yeah.
I bet it was like, Coach, I ain't rocking with that. Like, you're not going to speak about my integrity like that. Because you did. You hurt my feelings. Like, I'm not that one. And I kind of relayed this to the audience the other day. I think it's very important that whoever drafts this individual has a culture that is ready for this. Because if not, you're going to have a lot of button heads. You're going to have a lot of the young rookie not putting up with the ninth-year vet who doesn't want to do sprints. That's just not – I doubt that's ever going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Cedric Van Pran is one of those guys to me where – and I've been in the same room as him much fewer times than you are, but you can, like, when you can sense someone else's intelligence, like it just radiates off of them. That's what I got from him.
I've said it multiple times. I'll say it again. And we're shooting to have him on the show. I'm gonna let y'all know, not just on the show, in the studio. I've got a couple hooks in the water. We're gonna try to get. I don't want to promise too many things because there's a lot of tight schedules going on in the draft, but we're gonna try to get some of these guys in the studio, sit down with us, chop some shop, and watch some ball. So that'll be fun. But I've said it multiple times, and I think you guys, when we get a chance to interview him and really talk football with him, not just sit down and talk, but really put him on the board and listen to his brain, I think it will. The game of football will have a loss if this guy doesn't stick around even after his career. If this guy is not pouring back into other people around the game of football, I would be disappointed. I would be. Sometimes I feel, and not that I'm this way, but I feel like if I weren't close to the game of football, I wouldn't be right. I wouldn't feel right. I wouldn't operate correctly. I think I would be unhappy. I think I need to be around the world that is football. And I think his brain needs to be around here. I think it would be like taking the best neuroscientist ever and saying he wants to be a goddamn physical therapist. It's like, no, you need to be working on brains. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's kind of the way I feel about Ced. Should we go on to Bullard? Got a couple more. Give me 11. Give me 11 Javon Bullards. Now, I might not beat you, but, boy, you'd hate playing me. Boy, you would hate playing me. You would leave so goddamn sore. You might leave with a dub, but you're going to have to kill me. You're going to have to kill me. There's been players that I've enjoyed covering from an interview perspective. There's been players that I've enjoyed from a relationship perspective. There are very, very few human beings that I have liked watching play football more than Javon Bullard. I just, whoo-hoo, boy. Man, watching that dude not give a shit whether or not he dies on the football field is just energetic. It gives me life, okay? That guy threw his body into more carnage than anybody not named Richard LeCount that I've studied in the last 6 years, okay? He just did not care. He did not care about anything other than getting a guy on the ground or making a play. And, man, that's what it's all – sometimes that's what it's all about. From a defensive player's perspective, that is all it is about. Do you just not care? Do you not care for your own well-being enough to just put it on the line every single time the ball is snapped? And that's exactly what Deuces did. I mean, oh, man, what a great, great career and what a tremendous – young man to cover from a football perspective alone. God, they should all play it like this. If you want to learn how to play the game right, just watch him. Just watch 22. Watch how hard he plays. Watch how energetic he is. Watch how much he communicates with his teammates. And damn sure watch the physicality that he played with. If this were a guy who got to live at Star this year, I think he puts on a Honey Badger-esque type season. I really do. I think that's what it would have looked like. But it was best for this football team for him to play in that back end.
Mm-hmm. I remember after the national title game, him and Stetson were the two players that were available for post-game interviews with Kirby Smart because defensive MVP, offensive MVP. Javon Bullard arguably played the best 2 games of his life during that time span between the Ohio State game and then TCU. He won MVP in both games. And, of course, naturally, all questions are geared toward Stetson Bennett, Kirby Smart. No one's really tossing any questions Javon's way. And I was kind of paying attention to it. He still smiling, still having a good time. And even up until the next morning, I know you'll remember this, Stetson Bennett doesn't show up for the next day to talk about it. So the whole talk is like, why isn't Stetson here? Everybody's trying to figure out why Stetson's here. Javon Bullard, still there, still showed up.
I love that they were trying to figure it out as if it was some great mystery.
Right, right.
We saw Good Morning America the year before.
Yeah, not repeating on the performances.
Showed up, did it with grace, did it with a smile every time.
Man, and the grill.
Oh,
the grill Bulls got is just elite, man.
Mm-hmm.
Super photogenic, too.
Very much so.
Every single picture.
Very much so. Dude's got drip, man.
Yeah, he does.
Dude has absolutely got drip. But played it right. Like I said, give me 11 of them.
Oh, yeah.
I'll fight you to the death. Just to the death. Dark Alley team, first round. Who else you got?
Players?
Yeah, Chaz Chambliss for sure.
Dark Alley team?
Dark Alley
Oh,
team.
I
Dark
mean,
Alley team. Who you got? I got Chaz Chambliss. I got Javon Bullard.
Jordan Davis.
Nah. I think Jordan Davis wants everybody to
Jalen
live
Carter.
in that situation. Jalen Carter.
All right, so wait, you
Give me
mean
that
like
one.
people you don't want to like?
I'm talking about I go into a dark alley with these 4 dudes. I'm coming out the other side no matter what.
I'll give you even maybe it's an underrated pool. I'd pick Tate Rowledge.
See, I'm going a different white lineman. I'm
Do
going
they have-
Dylan Fairchild.
Do they have to be Georgia players?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what we're doing.
I feel like Tate Rowledge, he's the type of guy that when he absolutely needs, and you kind of see it on the football field, when he absolutely needs to, he's going to murder you. He's going to do it with force.
But what if I told you he went to boarding school?
I don't know. He's still tough MFer.
I got 3 right now, right? I said Bullard, Chambliss, Fairchild.
Lewis Seen.
Nah, give me
I would-
Quay Walker. Give me Quay Walker. Crisp County. Oh, woo! Yeah, buddy. 6'4", 240. Hates my guts. Give me Quay Walker. He wouldn't fight for me, but he would make sure the other teammates with us would definitely not die. So I'd be soloing it out, but we would survive for sure.
Rodrigo Blankenship.
I don't know how we got into that one. I got one more. It's Amarius, and I've kind of talked about this. I went through it today. 5 stars, first-round draft pick worth, off paper right now, $16 million, 8 starts. You know that's all it was?
That's all it took.
It's 8 starts.
That's all he needed.
And I talked about this while I was in Miami. It's hard for me not to look at Amarius' career and feel like Georgia fans got a little bit cheated of what he could have ultimately been. 8 starts is nothing.
No.
It's nothing. I mean, you barely played. Barely played, it feels like. So, and it's a product, and I said this last time, and people hit me up, and they were like, was that coaching? Was that Amarius' lack of development? No, it's just happenstance, man. It's happenstance. He played behind Warren McClendon. He played behind Broderick Jones for 2 years. I don't know what Warren's doing right now with the Rams, but I know Broderick's been starting for the last 9 weeks. Mm-hmm. He's a first-round NFL draft pick, and the other guy's not bad. Like, Warren McClendon was A-.
He's a great college offensive lineman.
A- for 3 years at right tackle. Beat out a lot of really, really highly touted recruits as well. So I think it's just a product of, damn, that sucks. That sucks, you know?
Well, does it? Does it suck?
Not for him.
No, I was going to say, for him, it's
Not for him. He
hey,
got
I only
out.
had to play 8 college games, and I'm
I
first-round pick.
I got it in the notes. Can you give me an example of anybody like this? Find me somebody that's got 8 career college starts and is a first-round lock. No questions asked.
I think the closest one you go is Derek Stingley.
That's a good call. Opted out of his junior year because of COVID. Got hurt his sophomore year, and basically was a first-round draft pick off of his freshman tape.
Yeah. Other than that,
So that's a good call.
Other than that, I can't really.
Yeah, that's a really good.
Also,
pull.
a physical specimen at his position. Damn, you fucking shit. You nailed that immediately.
Yeah, you
Thanks.
did.
God
He
dang,
was
dude.
sitting on that.
That
one.
was that was impressive. Yeah, you lobbed. It was like I lobbed that one to you. But yeah, the 8 starts a little bit much for me. Brock Bowers, GOAT.
Rojack. I
Go,
mean, damn
man.
good dog.
Damn good dog. We got a long show that we've already wrapped up. It's been 2 hours, and it's been a good one. Hey, I want to ask you this right now. If you are watching this and you have found us today, please, before you leave, subscribe to the channel. Get us to 20,000 subs before tomorrow morning. I want something to celebrate, okay? I love you. I appreciate you. We'll see you tomorrow. Sorry, Michigan fans, for being loud wrong. Congratulations. By the way, super weird energy to win the biggest game of your freaking program's life and run down Twitter idiots like me. See ya. They're going to box their ass.